or another, we begin to ask lots of questions. What does all this mean? Am I stuck? Is the way I am now the way I have to be for the rest of my life? Who am I? The profound questions of life you may have asked yourself have been asked by others since time began. They are as much a part of nature as the earth itself. Yet each of us must begin the journey anew when questions arise that only our souls can answer. Some have attempted to answer these questions of the soul by leaving what they know and venturing into the unknown. They seek nature in all its mystery and grandeur, for it is in nature that body, spirit, and mind become one. For these people, their outer voyage becomes a voyage inward as well. They become travelers of the soul.
Why is travel good for the soul? And why do we feel the need to move beyond our borders to transform what we know? I'm Tracy Bregman, and you're about to find out through one woman's extraordinary journey.
There's a special kind of traveler I call a soul traveler. They travel to visit new places and open their minds, but through traveling, they transform their lives. Jessica Bastow is one of them. Our film crew accompanied her on her journey into the unknown. This is her story. When Jessica was a child, she thought she belonged to the happiest family in the world.
My best memories are being 9 years old and being in my uncle's house, feeling so secure knowing that there was my Uncle Duncan, and there was my Uncle John, and there was my Aunt Jennifer, and my Aunt Mary, and my mom and my dad. If I think about anything in my life, any place in my life where I was the happiest, that was it.
But the happiness wouldn't last. Tragically, when Jessica was 14, her beloved Uncle Duncan was found dead in his own car, a victim of carbon monoxide poisoning.
The guy who gave me happiness killed himself. I feel like I'm always wanting to discuss it. I've always got him on my mind, and it's not discussed in my family. It's that black hole.
Having lived with the haunting memories for far too long, Jessica has reached the point in her life where something has to change.
I'm always looking for that thing that's going to make me happy. And then I look around my family and I think, Jesus, like, is that ever going to happen? Because, Uncle Duncan was kind of a wake-up call for me to look around and say, well, you know what? This perfect family that seemed to be so perfect really isn't. And I feel like I've lost myself.
But in this moment of darkness, Jessica's soul heeds a call from one of the most extreme and wondrous places on the planet, Antarctica. Long thought of as a bleak, frozen landscape, this place may hold the key to releasing Jessica's pain over the loss of her uncle.
She has the courage to talk about it, okay? To say this has affected me, and this is why I'm going on this journey to try and come to terms with this loss and put it somewhere where I can go on in my life. And if she puts it on a glacier or puts it with a penguin, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. She leaves some of the pain down there, but she takes the bigness and the peace of that place with her back home. To me, that's gonna, that experience is gonna stay with her.
The bluer the ice, the older it is. I guess because it's just all been so carved away, we're getting deeper and deeper into the older pieces.
There's a kind of alchemical mystery about the frozen poles. When you think of it, to take this particular voyage to this mysterious, frozen part of the world, a place that almost no one else has ever been, is something remarkable and very, very special.
I think travel is important in our lives because we traveled from birth. We traveled that fertilized eggs that have traveled down the fallopian tubes, didn't it? In this watery, viscous material before we were born. But to me, you have to keep being propelled and stimulated, and that's where I think travel comes in, because it makes us connect with these more primordial experiences. A lot of people get too comfortable. They don't want to go without the 3 or 4 star hotel, but you have to get out of the 3-star hotel to, I think, really be challenged and to be uncomfortable. I think to be uncomfortable puts you in a different place emotionally.
I'm going to be in a place without any family, without any worries about arguments, without any worries about my feelings or my emotions getting in the way of things or my moods ruining something. I'm gonna have the opportunity to be in this amazing space and be by myself and just have my thoughts.
Last time I was here, when we sat still, you could hear all the ice crackling like we were in a glass of gin and tonic with ice crackling.
Yeah, I think that's what's great about travel. We see things, stuff comes at you from awry, from a different angle. It's not just the straight-on day-to-day. We know exactly what to expect. We can control our lives because, as you know, in travel, things happen unexpectedly. You can't control, but sometimes those are the best things that happen to you.
Antarctica is one of the least explored places on Earth, largely unchanged since the first whalers arrived here less than a century ago. Her journey will begin in Ushuaia, at the tip of South America. Sailing south, she will approach Antarctica through the South Shetland Islands. From there, she will explore the famed archipelago of the Antarctic Peninsula before making her way back to civilization.
I'm so glad that you brought the journal from the trip. Will you read a little for me?
Absolutely. I guess I'll start from close to the beginning. Here I am at the end of the earth, Ushuaia, and soon to be Antarctica. I was overwhelmed as we flew into Ushuaia this afternoon. The beauty and magnitude of what I was seeing filled me with such a sense of joy.
Travel appears to be so good for the soul because it takes us out of our daily routine. Often we're stuck, we're burnt out, and by having the change of routine, by going to the top of a mountain, by tromping through the woods, for some reason, mysteriously, when we get back to where we started, we see it differently.
To do a trip like this, you really have to fall back on yourself because no one's there for you. But for her to say, I can do this. I can come out of this, and I have the resources. And to know you have those resources means knowing yourself, knowing where your emotional boundaries are, being pushed to the edge, but saying, yeah, I can do this.
After a day in Ushuaia, Jessica arrives on the docks to board the icebreaker that will be her home for the next 11 days.
But when I first saw the ship, I just, the size of it, first of all, I thought it was going to be that big. So when we first started coming towards the ship, my stomach was dropping, I was shaking. I was pretty nervous about it all, but excited at the same time.
Lyubov or Lova? Four. 306? Oh, geez. Okay, excellent. Oh my God, it's huge. All right.
As your Lova casts off and the rugged peaks of the southern Andes slip away, Jessica's journey begins. Her itinerary was set by the ship's Russian captain, but he couldn't know where her soul would take her.
Some of the life jackets are slightly different. So look at
It's not a Caribbean vacation, is it?
It's quite straightforward.
She's isolating herself from all that is familiar. And I think that's a very scary, but also an extraordinarily challenging thing to do, to remove herself. And that's a gift, let me tell you, to remove yourself from just the day-to-day, all the stuff that seems so important in the moment of job and boyfriend, friends. Just remove, that is a gift.
But as exciting as this expedition is for everyone on board, Jessica is a reluctant traveler, for her journey is being made for a very special reason.
This is for you, Duncan. This is because of you. I've never been ready to put you away, nor will I ever be. You were my magic man. Poof, you disappeared forever.
In order to live at the level of the soul, we must transcend the conscious mind that shackles us to the past. Jessica Bastow came to Antarctica to shed her everyday environment and shake things up. But she also carried with her the painful memory of her uncle who died by his own hand. It is that pain that keeps her from what she wants the most: happiness.
There are so many things that are right here, and they're good and they're happening and they're now, but I keep pushing them away and I'm reaching for something more. I'm terrified of getting married. I'm terrified of settling into that. I'm terrified of being that person who walks through the door and is grumpy with kids and grumpy with my husband. And I mean, the man that taught me what happiness was ultimately was never happy. He couldn't have been.
The inexplicable loss of someone who, on one hand, seems to be happy or all right and gives no sign that they are desperate or tired of life or can't cope. It's so confusing. Life just seems turned upside down. We can't make sense of it.
Before reaching their first port of call, the ship hits rough waters in the notorious Drake Passage. Jessica felt tossed like a wave in the ocean she was in.
Well, the ship is just rolling. I mean, my little porthole here is like, I don't know, 3 meters off the ground, I think, or off the water. Something like that when we're calm, but it keeps getting covered in water. And it's doing this rolling thing where, there we go. Ooh. It's like a roller coaster. Everybody's sick, so I didn't think I'd ever get seasick, but here it is.
As Jessica approaches her destination, the rough seas she faces matches the anxiety that has washed over her life.
I used to write poetry. I used to write a journal. I used to explore so many things, and that just stopped. Like somebody sitting on my chest. I have these feelings like I'm in trouble all the time. I go to work and sometimes and I think, oh my God, that feeling when you're a kid and you're in trouble and your dad's coming home, that's a feeling I have a lot. It's a frustrating feeling.
I think her sense of feeling an underlying sense of anxiety, of feeling blocked emotionally in her life, of being afraid to commit, to take risks, to attach emotionally, because I think when you've really been damaged like that, you're afraid to ever put yourself in that position again of being attached. I mean, that's the price we pay of being attached. There is a chance that we will lose that person, we will lose the love. And is it better to stand back and just watch, or to take the risk? And that's where she's stuck now. She's stuck.
The next day, Jessica woke to the sight of icebergs. Scores of them. Jessica had entered the realm of the ice. These mountains of white hid the truth of their massive size below the surface. Silent, primal. Icebergs can destroy a conventional vessel, as the ill-fated Titanic discovered.
Suicide is a very hard thing to talk about in families. It's a devastating loss. People can't understand it. They can't do anything about it. There's a lot of tremendous amount of guilt, tremendous amount of anger, and the anger is a very hard thing to talk about. And unless the loss is mourned in however way it can be, and it has to be discussed, or people need to, work it out in therapy or in travel, their writing, acting, however. But I think people have to find a place for those feelings.
I want to be able to find happiness in everyday life. You know, when people wish for things, my wish is always just happiness. That's always my wish. That's all I care about. Sure, I work towards things and, you know, just like everybody else, and it would be fantastic if this or that happened, but I just want to be happy.
I don't believe that happiness is a state that you can arrive at and then feel it consistently all the time, because that wouldn't be living in 3 dimensions. And I don't think when people say they want to be happy, that is really what they mean. They don't want to be flat. They want to be engaged with the world. They want to understand what's going on. They want to know they have some control over their lives. And that, to me, seems more realistic, the attempt to sort of taste parts of the world, experiment with life, to feel what's happening, as opposed to simply avoiding pain.
What Jessica didn't know was how intimately she was a part of a vast ocean of possibility. As the Orlova steams further south, bound for the Antarctic Peninsula, Jessica tries to adapt to life at sea.
It progressively got better. It took me a little bit longer to get my sea legs together, but eventually I got them and everything was fine. And then you get used to eating in the dining room, and I'd eat sideways, because that's the way we slept, with your stomach going sideways. So we're in the dining room, I try and sit sideways so that my stomach would go in the same direction.
As Jessica becomes more comfortable with life at sea, she finds herself intrigued by the other passengers who have come from around the world to share in this experience.
We're going to one of the most fascinating historical areas of the Antarctic.
For most of the people that were on this ship, it was their 7th continent. Like, for most of the people, it was their 7th continent. So these were adventurers. They weren't just vacationers, they were adventurers. They went to all of the seminars. I mean, these people were into doing things, into meeting each other, and into the whole experience of the trip.
It's the greatest birder in the Southern Ocean.
Her journey begins to stimulate something long dormant within her. Her writing.
Feels great to write again. So much coming. Emotions that have been locked away slowly coming to the surface, just like old times. I'm loving this. Do you remember what it felt like to be picked up as a child? I miss a lot of things about being a kid, but being picked up is one of my top 5. Can you imagine, as an adult, having someone walk into a room, run over to you, and pick you up? As a child, you're weightless, and people pick you up to love you and to play with you, or just to say hi to your face. What was it like to be perfectly secure in someone's arms, trusting that you would not be dropped? No awkwardness of where to put your hands, where to look, or am I too heavy? All of my memories of being picked up are of my uncle. It seems to me that I spent most of my time with him in his arms. I knew that he loved me, and it was never, ever a question. Unconditional love. No love was greater and no love was less. It just existed. Is that naive? I don't think so.
As Jessica embarks on her journey through this fantastic and forbidding landscape, the memory of her Uncle Duncan becomes a constant companion.
Jessica left her everyday routine to embark on an adventure in the Antarctic. As her journey unfolded, she was about to confront the majesty of the Antarctic region, but not just in the life-affirming way that moved most of the other passengers. For her, it was a journey into unknown territory.
The rugged mountains and stunning glaciers of these islands herald Jessica's first landing in Antarctica.
When people are obstinate about not learning, not searching, not looking inside themselves, my sense is that they're very much afraid. It is a kind of self-protection. I don't want to go outside my comfort zone. It's much safer to say, No, stop. Stop right here. Don't go any further. There's a lack of courage, there's a lack of confidence in that stance, and it is very common because most of us grow up without the kind of encouragement that we need to be courageous.
A huge thing I've noticed is that my mind is no longer spinning out of control. I'm having clear thoughts, and I am living in the moment, not worried about yesterday and tomorrow, just the here and now, slowly just letting go and opening up to this adventure.
But when Jessica steps out into this ice-filled waterway, she doesn't know what this landing has in store.
As we sprung around the mouth of the beach, all we could see up on the hills, in the water, playing on the rocks, were penguins. Millions of them. Sweet little babies, chin straps, and a couple of seals laying across each other, not seeming to notice the penguins dancing around. Fluffy baby penguins molting, running after their mother, yelling for food. The mothers running away, making them work for it, looking to see how strong they are, and then finally feeding them.
These are the Adelie penguins that normally are found much further south, but because we're near the Weddell Sea, which is much, much colder with the ice,
Right.
they're found here further north. And they are the little inquisitive penguins. Always nest close to the sea, so that they can get across the sea ice when this is all covered in sea ice and don't have so far to go.
I didn't think that I'd get anywhere near as close as I did to these things. I just want this guy to come near me, and I didn't think that he would, but they're really, really curious little things. So he comes, and he's squeaking, and he's getting closer and closer, and unfortunately he didn't step on me, but I really wanted to come and get on top of me, but he didn't.
It seems that nature has a wonderful and powerful impact on us if we're open to it. Because when we see a penguin or a tiger or a tree, and we really stop to connect with it, and we can see that we're part of, not separate from, the entire world. The earth, the trees, the water, the sun, all of that is not alien to us. We're part of it. We're one and the same. So we can have this feeling that there's kinship with all these beings.
Witnessing nature's families, seeing how they live, stimulates Jessica's thoughts of her own family.
I had been there that summer, and I felt that my uncle wasn't his usual self. If nothing had happened, I wouldn't even, wouldn't even have given it a second thought. Just thinking back about it, things were off. It just wasn't the atmosphere that it always was. That's my beginning memory of it all. That's how it came about for me.
Jessica's Zodiac takes her around Devil Island, home to a colony of over 20,000 breeding pairs of Adelie penguins.
We came along the shore of Devil Island. There we saw some very sad things. A piece of berg full of penguins who were not quite mature, therefore not able to go into the water to feed themselves. They did not look happy and will surely perish.
I don't think we have anything to do with nature's beauty any more than we have anything to do with nature's tragedies and catastrophes. Nature is what she is it's this powerful force.
babies huddled together to keep safe from the skuas hovering overhead. They are huge scavenger birds looking for weak, sick, or lone babies. We came along two of these horrid birds, the skuas, eating a baby penguin as it tried to get away. For 15 minutes, they picked at its eyes and face while it continued to squirm.
I can't watch this on television. Oh my God. Oh, I can't watch that.
In an instant, Jessica faces nature's basic truth. Life and death exist together, side by side, and have and will forever.
All of the other penguins squawked and flustered around. Very, very difficult to see. There's a sadness everywhere. In human life, we say, oh, not a baby. In animal life, it's always the baby.
Antarctica, where Jessica Bastow found nature teeming with life and brutal with death.
Her journey has been a difficult one, hindered by distance and rough sea. And whether she knew it or not, she, like the rest of us, she was on an inner journey as well. A journey of the soul, both instigator and observer. As Deepak Chopra said, the mind is involved in the process of knowing, but the soul is the knower.
Icebergy obstacles to get through. The end of the earth.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I'll just bring you up to date with the latest information, because at last we've been in radio contact with the station commander at the Argentine station Esperanza, and he says that we are very welcome to visit. So, round about 4 o'clock this afternoon, I hope, Zodiac's ashore to Esperanza.
This stop will be Jessica's first landing on the actual continent of Antarctica. For up to 1 year, 60 people, including 8 families with children, live at Esperanza, the Argentine station at Hope Bay. Jessica wanders up the hill to the old British base closed in 1964. Only the graves of those who came to this place and never left remain.
He had gone missing. For a week he was gone. He was found somewhere off the side of the road by a farm in his car, and he had taken a hose and put it into his car.
Standing here, Jessica remembers the moment she first found out.
Now, you wrote something about that moment, didn't you? Will you read it to me?
Sure. My mother's perfect carpet. The nap stood just so. I always felt guilty walking across it. Footprints. Perfect waves of nap, dark and light strokes overlapping each other, ruined by my trail to the kitchen. The phone rings. Mom, Mary's on the phone, upset. Sprint back to the kitchen, hang up the phone, and throw myself halfway down the stairs. I bend down, Mom's in clear view. Nothing but distorted, loaded silence. Suddenly, out came a hollow, frail moan that cracked and broke not only the silence, but my mother's heart, my father's goodness, my innocence, and my whole understanding of hope, love, and human nature. Gone. All I remember are short sentences like, "No, not my brother. Duncan, what did you do? What did you do? No, why would you hurt yourself? Oh, my baby brother, what did you do?" I couldn't move. It's like I didn't want to step out of this moment. I knew what was happening was going to affect my whole life, and that I would never forget this moment. And when I finally moved, I realized that both of my feet had sunk so deeply into the carpet that they looked like perfect molds cast in clay.
Everybody had guilt. Everybody had guilt. I mean, what did I was supposed to tell people that my uncle died of a heart attack. Right? That's what we had to tell people. And the Catholic Church wouldn't bury my uncle. He wasn't a really religious guy, but he went to church every once in a while. It was his church in Acton, and they wouldn't bury him.
Rather than escaping her pain, her journey led Jessica to confront death in other forms. The ruthlessness of nature, the graves of those who didn't survive, or the evidence of the cycle of life everywhere. Everywhere there is life and reminders of death.
I've seen a real desire in people to discover something more in life. They really want to find out about the meaning of things. And so many people are going on not only inner voyages, they're going on outer voyages too, because they seem to know that the more they taste of the world, the more experiences they have, the more they get to experience what's deep inside them.
In our everyday lives, death is hidden from view. Here, the dramatic evidence of death is part of the landscape. In her own life, Jessica had no outlet to deal with her feelings. In Antarctica, they are invited to rise to the surface. How would Duncan have felt if he could have made this journey with her? But in a way, he had. For everywhere she lands, his memory is there to greet her. Every new encounter with death evokes him. His presence here in Antarctica is so undeniable. Will she ever be able to escape it now? Jessica's outer and inner journeys begin to converge.
Jessica made an outer journey on the icebreaker Orlova, but her inner journey has taken her just as far. She finds Antarctica teeming with life, but where death also has a place. Her inner and outer journeys are about to lead her to the same destination.
There is a loneliness about Deception Island which captivates. Here you have one of the greatest and most astonishing crater islands in the world. It always seems to bear an air of smouldering anger. Douglas Liveridge, The Last Continent, 1958. It is not a bad thing if we go in a misty, slightly cloudy day, because it will give that feeling of the smouldering anger of the island.
Steep cliffs known as Neptune's Bellows guard the entrance to the flooded caldera of Deception Island, an active volcano. In the last century, whalers now long dead called this outpost home. The stench of the slaughter and the rust of an old whaling station is all that remains. But the legacy of that era still hangs in the mist here. But for Jessica, this may as well be the far side of the moon.
In some ways, this place takes me back to childhood, standing on the edge of a high, scary cliff with my dad holding on to me, and my mom yelling in the background at how dangerous we were being.
And even here, in a place she could not imagine anyone choosing to be, she found the memory of someone who did. Confronting death now at every turn, could this be the glimpse of the unknown that her soul has been leading her to?
For me, standing there over these graves was a moment for me to take in the bad parts about it all. There's really no way for me to get away from it. I mean, I've been brought to Antarctica for a reason, I believe. It came down all of a sudden to this reality, which is he's dead and he's done this bad thing. Uncle Duncan did this horrible thing. And it's just like when I walked away from there and I walked around that bend, I just wanted to leave it there. I just wanted to take all that bad stuff that's happened and the loss of my uncle and the thoughts that I have constantly about what happened to him. I just wanted to take them and leave them up there.
With that simple thought, Jessica's world changed. When she began this journey, Jessica was a reluctant traveler, haunted by the past. But the Orlova has brought her to a new place, both outside and within, where she can throw off the cloak of memory and live in the present moment. Then, a once-in-a-lifetime chance presents itself. The hot magma just below the surface of this beach heats the water here. Digging down a few feet creates nature's own hot tub. After coming so far, Jessica is not going to miss this for the world. She plunges into the frigid southern ocean before immersing herself in the steaming black ash of the crater rim. Coming here has set her free.
It's a feeling of, when your muscles have been so tight for so long and you're boggled up with all these thoughts and energies that are flowing through you. It's like when you have a massage, it's your muscles are, they're holding all of these energies and negativity and everything that you've got inside of you. And once you have that, it lets all those toxins out. And that's what happened. Being in this hot tub, just letting all these toxins out, just releasing all of these energies. It was like I just had this moment of like, well, I was like a new person when I came out of there. The time is now to be here at such a young age, to experience not only the Antarctic, but the freedom and life and the people that come here, the people that work here. It lends an idea to the soul.
So how about this piece? This looks pretty stunning with the blue.
It was all so breathtaking. Little penguins on tiny icebergs and crystal bluebirds, the kind of blue that does not exist in the man-made world. The most beautiful of all, I got to touch and taste. I am about to touch my first iceberg. And it's not just an iceberg, it's crystal clear blue iceberg. I'm like the luckiest person in the whole entire world.
We have to do more of that. To go places where we don't know what's going to happen, we don't know what the results are going to be. But nature does that. Nature's a gift. Nature gives us gifts all the time. We just got to open our eyes to them.
Tasty. Not salty at all, just like you said, salt goes to the bottom, right? Yep. It's great.
Oh my god, look at that thing. Your fingers are beginning to look a bit blue like the iceberg.
One of the most satisfying aspects of travel is that one can live out of time, not according to schedules and appointments and deadlines, but living in the moment. Time is an artificial construct. Time is just there.
Oh, this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to touch an iceberg. And they told me I was never going to be able to do it. And I did it.
When you live out of time, in the moment, just experiencing moment after moment as they happen, it feels liberating. It feels as if it's flowing rather than you're pushing your life or being stuck, against a deadline. Things just happen and are revealed to you moment after moment after moment, and time itself falls away.
Some vacations are about learning, expanding one's mind, to rejuvenate the living being, to spend a time not only on oneself, but to share in others' dreams and aspirations. As life goes on, our problems become greater and stronger. The time to deal is now. Blinders simply absorb the pain.
Jessica's voyage truly became an inner as well as outer journey. Carrying the painful memories of her uncle's suicide with her for many years, she found transformation on this trip. In Antarctica, she realized that death was just an elemental part of life, not a violation of it. Death is to be accepted, just as life is to be embraced.
When we think of the world that we are born into, it's a world that has a history, a voyage of its own. There has been movement and a journey, and each one of us in our own lives mimic that in some way. And for those of us who are lucky, we're conscious of the travel, the voyage. In fact, we choose to participate in it. We make choices about where we're going to travel. But even if we don't, the voyage takes place nevertheless.
I went directly to the back of the ship and out on the deck where I wasn't supposed to be. I sat on a bench overlooking the water. The wind was chilly, but the sun was warm. The giant petrels swooped down with me as I raised my arms up to the sky and squealed just as I've heard them. I felt so alive. In that moment, I think I figured it all out. It's about feeling alive, therefore happy. It's up to you to find it. It's in nature. When you get out here, bills, jobs, status mean nothing. It does the soul good.
In that moment, Jessica became a soul traveler. This is a story about a young woman who was stuck in her life. Travel transformed her. By confronting the world beyond ourselves, we begin to see the world within in ways we never expected.
I don't know, you gotta go find your own happiness. That's it, you gotta go and you gotta put your backpack on, you gotta get out there, climb a hill, you know, just be out in the nature for a while, and that's where it's at. Because there's something bigger and greater than you. Much bigger than all of your problems, much bigger than anything. And that's where it's at.
You can't change what happens to you, but you can definitely change how you feel about it. At the level of the soul, what Jessica discovered in Antarctica was not only just a spectacular part of the world, but something much deeper. Acceptance of death and life equal in nature's plan for us. These kind of journeys are available for everyone. It just takes a decision. We may not know where we're going or what we'll find when we get there, but that is exactly what being a soul traveler is all about. I'm Tracy Bregman, and I invite you to consider a journey of your own. The world is waiting.